everyone, welcome back. We got a lesson for you that is probably, you could say intermediate, or it goes into advanced as well. But here we've got some common auxiliary verbs and helping verbs that we're going to give you today. And how do these translate over into the Fusha? Okay, so the Ammiya is a spoken language, and then you've got Fusha, which is the written language. That's where you find in newspapers, books, religious text, and as such. Spoken language, though, is used way more than the written text. In fact, you could, if you had to choose to live in the Middle East and the Arab world, which one would you want to learn? Definitely, very few Arabs would say anything other than the spoken. All right, because the spoken is the language of life, basically. So, what we've got here on this side, I put the auxiliary verbs that we would use, helping verbs that we would be using in Ammiya, and I've got their equivalents in Fusha. Because what I'd like you to know is there are some just very, very much used verbs and or auxiliary verbs, helping verbs / helping verbs that are used quite frequently in both Ammiya and Fusha. And students have come up to me and asked, well, how do I say this in Fusha? I want to write it. How do I write it? Okay, well, you'd write it differently than you'd say it. Versus plus, well, on the other side, you got students that come and say, all right, well, I studied Fusha, and now I'd like to, kind of get the equivalents for these in Ammiya. Well, here they are. Coming from this side over is where you'd go. But first, let's start with he wants. Biddo. All right? He wants. So, he wants. Now, there's also, I know some people out there might be saying, well, yeah, what about yarghab or something like that? Or yarghab. I think it's yarghab. What about that? Why would that be used? Why wouldn't you put that here too? Well, biddo is yurid. Yurid literally means he wants. Whereas the other one means more like he desires, but it does have the kind of he wants meaning as well in Ammiya, in Fusha. But here, biddo, he wants, okay, would be translated in Fusha. You would put yuridu or yurid, and yurid زائد أن والفعل فعل مضارع. Okay, الفعل you would say فعل مضارع for this, which means the present tense verb. So, for example, you would say يريد أن يذهب. يريد أن يذهب, which means he wants to go. يريد أن يذهب. Or you could say يريد plus the masdar, which is and this one would be الذهاب. So, يريد الذهاب. And then you'd follow it up with prepositions like إلى or whatever. So, يريد أن يذهب or يريد الذهاب. Okay, and you're going to see the same namat, we'd say in Arabic, the same kind of like alib, it would fall in the same type of how do we say it in English? Be more like this particular type of line, I guess, if you will. It'll fall in the same line as the other ones, the same type of order, what have you. So, lazim means he should. He should. Or he must. Okay? Lazim. He should or he must. Alright? Lazim. Okay, so that would be lazim. In Ammiya, we'd say lazim plus the verb. Easy. Okay? Plus the verb. Lazim plus the verb. Biddo plus the verb. But here, you have yajib. Alright? Yajib plus and the fi'l. Fi'l mudara. So it would be yajib and yadhab. Yajib and yadhab. Or you could say yajib عليه or عليه أن plus the verb. Excuse me, I forgot to put that there. Plus the verb. Okay? يجب أن يذهب. Or excuse me. يجب عليه أن يذهب. يجب عليه أن يذهب. Or يجب عليه or عليه الذهاب. يجب عليه الذهاب. So, يجب أن يذهب or يجب عليه أن يذهب or يجب عليه الذهاب. Alright? That's all that in عامية. So wonderful. In عامية, you just have to say لازم يروح. Simple. But this is the Fusha side, and there's 3 different options for it. Okay? In عامية, if you notice, we don't use the masdar with the verb. No, the masdar does not take a verbal meaning as much in the عامية. But in Fusha, it certainly does. Okay, so لازم. Now there's 2 other ways that are commonly used to say لازم in the Fusha. This one's used quite a bit here too. يتوجب. يتوجب. You could say يتوجب عليه or يتوجب أن. You know, whatever. I think it'd be يتوجب أن. Let me see here on my notes. No, it's more يتوجب عليه. عليه. يتوجب عليه أن. Okay. Here, لا بد, I particularly use these 2 more, but لا بد, and then لا بد, we would say the same as these pretty much, but the thing is about لا بد, you have another part to it. You can say من. لا لو, يعني you'd say لا بد من plus the masdar. Okay, so if you're saying we need to increase taxes, you know, you would say لا بد, and then, or we need to make more progress, you know, or we need to improve, you know, لا بد التحسين في هذا المجال, you know. So you would have that plus the masdar, but also these would work as well. Okay, so that is he should or he must. This one is he can, or he's able. Okay, he can. So a lot of times we use this in a question in عامية. We'll say تقدر تروح معي. Can you go with me? أو بقدر أحكي لك شغلة. Can I tell you something? بقدر. Or some people say بقدر for this قاف here. So بقدر equals يستطيع. يستطيع plus you'd put N and then the verb. Okay? يستطيع أن يذهب. Or يستطيع الذهاب. يستطيع الذهاب. So only those 2. Alright? You don't have على in this preposition. You don't have that. So that's for بقدر. Then you have ممكن, which means can. That's it. So can. It expresses possibility. Can. Or may. May. Alright? So you would say, in عامية we would say ممكن أروح معك. ممكن أروح معك. ممكن, can I go with you. ممكن أروح معك. Or ممكن أحكي لك شغلة. Can I tell you something? So بقدر and ممكن are really very similar in the عامية. But here in Fusha, the translation or the equivalent of ممكن is من الممكن and then أن plus the فعل. So من الممكن أن يذهب. من الممكن أن يذهب. Or من الممكن أن, or excuse me, من الممكن الذهاب. من الممكن الذهاب. And then continue with prepositions and whatever. So the other way is يمكن, يمكن, and then أن يذهب, the فعل, or يمكن, and then الذهاب. يمكن الذهاب. So this would bring out what? Questions. Questions usually. All right. Whereas بقدر might be stating a fact or asking a question. Okay, so, but here you would have to say هل يستطيع to ask the question. So keep that in mind. Whereas عمية, the question, we don't say for yes no questions, we just ask the question and then put on the end ممكن أروح معك. We lift the tone on the end. We don't say هل بقدر أروح معك أو هل ممكن أروح معك. No, that's not really proper. But sometimes people will use the word هل, which sets up, let me put right over here, sets up a question. Okay, هل. All right, that always sets up a question, yes or no. All right, so hopefully your head is not pounding from all this information. But what you can do is you can stop the video at a certain point during this time, and then you can write down some of these to get them in your head and get them working. Really, this is so much of what you're going to see in Fusha. These are so much used. And then as you go into the Amiyya, you're able to carry the same things that you learned from the Fusha and know the equivalent of them. As well for people learning Amiyya. You know, here at CGE Jordan, we have a lot of instructors. We've got about 13 or 14 instructors just for Arabic. And many times they don't, I don't bring them here to do instruction much on video for YouTube. But we teach our students these first, the Amiyya first, and then with some Fusha in there, like alphabet and things. But then we move them from like how an Arab would learn. Arab learns the Amiyya first, and then they go and learn the Fusha in the school. So what we do is we start with Amiyya. Most programs, they start with Fusha. However, some students, we do start with them in Fusha if they desire, if they so desire. But we found that this is far better because you can actually practice the Amiyya in the Arab world, whereas you cannot practice Fusha here. No one speaks it. So immersion is al-fadi, we'd say, for nothing, really, because you don't get to use Fusha here much. You find out more people laugh at you than or not take you seriously when you speak. They don't take you seriously when you speak Fusha in the Arab world, because Arabs don't do that. They speak this language here, or this dialect, if you will. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and we'll see you back here for some more good stuff next time. Bye-bye.